Arcadia is the homeland of the FAE, where banality and mortal bodies are but horrifying nightmares to scare childlings. The idea of Arcadia serves as hope for changelings, hope that the gates to their homeland will open once again, and although all Kithain have at least a few memories from having lived there during the previous ages, no changeling knows how much of this remembrance is real and how much is wishful thinking or fancy. In the end though, what is real when discussing dreaming? Hello, and welcome to a new lore video on Changeling the Dreaming. In the last video, we discussed the chrysalis, and in this video we will discuss the nature of every FAE. After a period of fosterage, a changeling emerges as a fully accepted member of Kithain society, and one of the most important lessons to take forward with them into this new existence is the danger of banality. The greatest threat to a changeling is the force of disbelief, stagnation, and confining reason that threatens to choke human ingenuity and creativity. The rationalization that humanity has clung to in an effort to chase away its fears also wears away at the spark of imagination and creation that connects the mortal world with the dreaming. This grinding, oppressive force is known as banality, and it is the leading cause of destruction for all denizens of the dreaming. Banality seeks to explain away the fantastic and categorize, empiricize, contain, and render mundane anything outside of the scope of accepted mortal understanding. Older Kithain call this force the endless night or the long winter, as the encroachment of banal thought on society renders the world colder to changelings with every passing year. Banality, while itself not a sentient thing, is a force nonetheless, perpetuated by the press for normalization, sameness, and wearisome acceptance of the status quo that is so part of a mortal life. Wherever a teacher stamps out the spark of creativity in a young artist, or a parent demands their child give up on foolish dreams to be more practical, their banality flourishes. The world becomes a little colder for changelings and mortals alike. Banality makes the mortal mind unable to think beyond the boundaries of its understanding, and curbs the creative spark that yearns inside to blaze to life. The world of darkness is infused with banality, frozen in the grip of its power. For every time a changeling reaches for glamour and fails to call forth its power, it triggers a response and banality floods in instead. Banality is the force that is driving the dreaming and all of its children to extinction, the long winter haunting the steps of every Kithain in the mortal world. The force of banality is so strong that if a changeling is not careful, it can separate a FAE from their mortal self. As a changeling is worn down by banality, they start to forget their connection to the dreaming. Memories of their FAE selves disappear, and a FAE may fall into the undoing, a time when a changeling forgets their time as a FAE and instead is subsumed into their mortal seeming altogether. Should the process not be halted or at least slowed, the changeling loses touch with their FAE half entirely. What is left behind is the hollow mortal half, living their life alone in the dull, banal world. This process doesn't happen all at once. Changelings weather the forces of banality every day, buffered from its harshest effects by their mortal seemings. By taking that bit of banality into their lives, changelings can build up a tolerance and use the mortal half to shelter them from the worst that the cold autumn world has to offer. A changeling's FAE mean may dig down deep below their mortal shell to endure the most trying parts of their everyday life, from paying bills to dealing with tax officials. Prolonged contact with banal influence can wear down even the toughest changeling and send them into a slow spiral towards the undoing. FAE have been using the trick of hiding behind mortal seemings for as long as memory stands. Fairies would wear mortal disguises to walk amongst humanity, even going so far as to take the appearance of mortals to hide from those that might enslave them or destroy them with cold iron. This tactic was later used when the Shattering threatened to crush the FAE left behind when the gates to Arcadia were shut. Those who stayed in the mortal world used the trick of taking mortal form to create the Changeling Way ritual that allowed the FAE to be reborn in mortal bodies, protected, at least in part, from the banal world. This transformation by the FAE into changelings didn't come without a cost. Changelings lose the memory of their Fae selves when utterly subsumed into their mortal seemings. It's for this reason that until the chrysalis, a mortal does not remember their Fae self fully. It's possible that some Fae souls never awaken from their slumber, their mortal seeming so buried in banality that they cannot be reached by the dreaming. They remain, tragically, lost to banality's undoing and the mists. Once long ago, the Fae created barriers that would protect themselves and the wonders of the chimerical world from the prying eyes of humanity. Over time, the mists merged with the rising banality and transformed from a protection against mortal intrusion into a barrier between Kithain and the dreaming. While this unseen cloud of disenchantment keeps mortals from recognizing Fae magic and fairy means when they see them, it also helps to cloud the mind of changelings while in their mortal form. Because of the mists, changelings cannot draw upon the full knowledge of their Fae selves or their past life memories of Arcadia and generations of immortal life. So much of the Fae self is lost to hazy recollections or fragmented dreams thanks to the mist's influence. The mists also wear down the changeling's connection to the dreaming and keep them from naturally gathering glamour from the world around them. Over time, a changeling runs out of glamour unless they can find more external sources. Eventually, they begin to lose touch with their own Fae self. The changeling loses touch with not only their Fae mean, but the memories of their Fae lives, their memories stripped away by the forgetting. The process of recapturing lost memories can seem like an impossible struggle against banality itself, as the changeling is trapped within a nightmare of half-remembered visions and puzzling yearnings. Should the changeling not receive the glamour they need to recover from their slide into forgetting, they may be wholly subsumed by the mists and undone. This process speeds up should the changeling be harmed by anything that damages their Fae mean, such as weapons like cold iron. Yet even those Fae who have lost their way in the mists may recover bits and pieces when the mists part, and allow them a glimpse of their true selves. For changelings, that allows them tiny fragments of their past incarnations or even of Arcadia itself, before the mists lower again under the crushing weight of the world's banality. The mists do offer one benefit to mortals by hiding the dreaming and its children. The force of banality in most mortals keeps them from perceiving anything outside of what they believe can exist. Should they spot anything that they cannot immediately explain, the mists press them to rationalize it away as a temporary hallucination or trick of the mind. A mortal must be deliberately enchanted to pierce through the mists to see the world of the dreaming, lying hidden right before their eyes. It's into those very mists that all changelings might go if or when they lose the battle with banality. In the next Changeling the Dreaming lore video, we will talk about the age spans of a Fae. I make World of Darkness videos multiple times a week, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Now remember this, Kithain, it is dangerous to dream too little.